Here are your headlines and calls for bolder measures to tackle truancy. A group of MPs says 1 in 5 children now regularly misses school in England.
You feel like you're not good enough for your children, you can't do it, but I felt quite deflated, actually, to make me cry. But yeah, it was hard.
The UK's first safe space for taking illegal drugs is expected to be given the go-ahead in Glasgow this morning.
A judge in New York rules that Donald Trump committed fraud for years by repeatedly exaggerating his wealth.
Good morning. A warning: this winter will be tougher than the last for many households, as one charity says it's given crisis support to a record number of people so far this year.
In sport, it's Dutch defeat for the Lionesses as the Netherlands grab a 90th-minute winner to beat England in the Nations League.
Good morning. It's the calm before the storm because Storm Agnes is coming our way today, bringing heavy rain and gales, even severe gales, with exposure in the west. The south and southeast least affected by this.
Sir Alok Sharma says he will not stand at the next general election. He's been the Conservative MP for Reading West since 2010. The United Nations COP26 president said it wasn't an easy decision, but that he will continue to support his Conservative colleagues and champion causes such as climate action. A top paediatrician has told the BBC that the public health message that vapes are 95% safer than smoking has backfired, encouraging some children to vape. Dr. Mike McKeon says it must be made clear that children should not be vaping and that it could be bad for them. Thousands of teenagers are using vapes every day. And David Walliams is suing the company that makes ITV's Britain's Got Talent. The High Court case against Fremantle Media follows his exit as a judge. The action is listed as dealing with data protection. The firm declined to comment. Walliams, who was a judge between 2012 and 2022, admitted last year to making disrespectful comments.
The British Museum has released more details, which it hopes will help recover around 2,000 missing artefacts. It said last month it had sacked a member of staff after items were found to have been stolen, damaged or gone missing. The museum has now published images of similar items and it's asking the public to help locate them. Let's have a look at this morning's papers, shall we? Front pages to start with, and lots of them leading with those comments about immigration made yesterday by the Home Secretary, Suella Braverman.
The Times focusing on her claim that the current pace and levels of immigration pose a threat to the West.
While the Metro reports that the Home Secretary is saying it has now become too easy, she said, to claim refugee status.
The Telegraph covers a report prepared for the COVID inquiry by a collection of children's charities, which concludes that the harm caused to young people by lockdown measures like social distancing and school closures was preventable.
I guess that feeds into that story we're talking about school
Absolutely.
attendance as well.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. The Guardian this morning features a study from the medical journal The Lancet, which says that a more feminist approach to cancer treatment around the world could save the lives of 800,000 women every year.
Take a look at the front pages, shall we? The Guardian says health experts are calling for a more feminist approach to cancer to eliminate inequality after data showed 800,000 women worldwide are dying needlessly every year. The Eye reports that private schools are gearing up to fight plans by Labour, if it gets into power, to end their exemption from charging VAT on their fees. And it's the same story in the Daily Mail, which claims Labour's class war would begin on day one of taking power. The Metro sums up the Home Secretary's migration speech in Washington with the headline, "Suella, it's too easy to be a refugee." And the Times also picks up on her remarks that immigration is a threat to the West. The Mirror, though, summing up the speech with just one word: poisonous. And the Telegraph leads with a report on the effects of the COVID lockdown, which concluded that the harm some children suffered was preventable if ministers had thought more about, at the time, about children's rights. And the Financial Times hears that the US Federal Trade Commission and 17 state governments are accusing Amazon of effectively creating a monopoly by taking nearly 50% of the proceeds made by its third-party sellers. And finally, the Daily Star claims to have saved the world, yes, that's right, by buying a plot of the moon and keeping the US and China apart and preventing World War III. And if you want to see any of those front pages again or read the stories, just scan the QR code on your screen.